Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about critical chance and how you can calculate it on your build and within the game. It's kind of a convoluted equation that they have cooked up for this. So I'm going to have it all written out here and iron it out for you and show you how you can calculate how much critical chance you're going to have in a build before you even put the build together. So let's get into it. I've got it all written down here as I used this before. So how do you calculate critical chance? Well, in this game, when they first came out with the game, they had a system that they called the VET 16 system, where you had the standard 50 levels, as we still do, and then before they had the champion point system, they just had the max level of VET 16, which is the 50 levels plus 16 equals 66. So that's what is still in place on this critical chance um, formula, and it's meant to basically scale with your level. And 100% critical chance in the game is calculated by taking 2 times 66 times essentially 166, and that equals 21,912. It's a numerical palindrome. So it's a very odd number that they chose to have this be what it is, but that number right there equals 100 critical strike chance, meaning if you are able to hit that number on a build, which I'm fairly certain is it's very difficult. I know you can hit it if you build for it, but it's very difficult to hit. Um, but if you're at 21,912 critical chance, you will critically strike 100% of the time. And so, taking that into account, that means that 1% critical chance is equal to 219. So, from that number right there, we can use that number going forward to figure out what your numbered values for the critical chance is. Because in most cases, they don't give you a percentage, they give you a number, and you have to do the math on the side. Some things, like if they refer to a precise weapon, that will actually list the percent, and you don't need to do any math with that. But in most of the other cases in this game, they only give you a number, and that doesn't really mean a whole lot because you're trying to figure out how often you're going to critically strike. Well, if they just give you a number such as 2,628, you're going to go, okay, what the heck does that mean? Well, if we figure out what 100% critical strike chance is, and then further from that 1% is, then we can figure out what these other values mean. So, major prophecy and savagery, if you take 2,628 and divide it by 219, you're going to find out that that equals 12% critical strike chance. And so that is the biggest critical strike chance buff that you can give your character. So this is extremely important to make sure that you have in your build. This buff comes from spell power pots, weapon power pots, or if you have Camo Hunter slotted on your front bar. Going forward, the Relentless Focus skill from Nightblade will have that buff. There are several in-class skills that have it. From the Mages Guild, Inner Light will have this. You have to slot that on your bar. You could also get it from a scribing skill or even put it on your banner. Those are several different ways to get that buff, but you always want to make sure that you have the Major Prophecy and Savagery buff in your build. Very, very, very strong and very important. Now, something else to touch on. Every character starting out, just if you're not wearing any gear at all, you don't have a Mundus, you don't have anything. No weapons, jewelry, nothing. Not even a one-piece set. The base amount that you can critically strike is 10%. And so you automatically get, coming out of the gate, 2,191 critical strike chance. And so that is to start with every build, you got to include that number if you're wanting to calculate things. The strongest Mundus in the game for PvE DPS is in most occasions going to be the Thief Mundus Stone. Now, if you wear all 7 pieces of golded out armor, each one of those Divine's pieces is going to give you 9.1% increase to your Mundus value. The base Mundus value, I believe, if memory serves, is 1,212. And then if you have 7 Divine's pieces with your Mundus, it equates to 1,982. So if you take that value and you divide that by 219, that tells you that you get just over 9% critical strike chance from the Thief Mundus. Now, this used to be stronger in previous patches. They nerfed it, I want to say sometime last year, early last year. It used to give you almost 10% critical strike chance, and they have nerfed it now to where it only gives you 1982. I believe it used to be up and over 2100. But here we are. It's currently 1982, and you can verify that by going to your character screen and going down to the Mundus here, and it will tell you off to the right there. It'll say 1982. So that's how you can tell that value based on what you're wearing in terms of Divine's gear. If you don't have something golded out, then that number is going to be lower. Or if you're not wearing all 7 Divine's pieces, then it's going to be lower. So make sure to run 7 golded Divine's gear armor pieces, and then you will get the 1982 critical strike chance from the Mundus. Going forward, the minor savagery buff. This comes from the assassination skill line from the Nightblade. This is going to be extremely common in trials groups because virtually every DPS is going to be running the assassination skill line, and all you have to do to proc this is to critically strike from the flank, or excuse me, just critically strike. It doesn't even have to be from the flank. All you have to do is critical damage, and it will give you 1,314, which is equal to 6% critical strike chance. So that is a massive jump in group DPS. If you can give your entire group 6% more critical strike chance, that's a big one. Another very common thing is dual wield daggers on your front bar. If you go into the skills and you down into the dual wield, and then you go all the way down to twin blade and blunt, and then you scroll down, you can see each dagger will give you 657 critical chance rating. Doesn't matter what trait it is, it's just if you have a dagger in your hand, that's what it's going to give you. So if you have 2 of those, that's going to equal to 1,314, just like the minor savagery buff is. So those 2 together are going to equal to 12% increase critical strike chance. Now, if you have a build that you can run a 1-piece dagger with a precise weapon trait, that's going to give you another 788 critical strike chance, which is equal to 3.6% critical strike chance. Now, if you have a staff on your front bar, you're going to lose out on the dual wield daggers component, and that's why precise staffs are the way to go. If you're going to run a staff of some kind, like a lightning staff, will give you 1,577 critical strike chance, which is 7.2% critical strike chance. So you want to make sure you're running a precise staff if you're going to run that on the front bar, so you don't lose out a ton on your critical strike chance there. The other 2 components, you have 1 piece of light armor. I'll go into that skill line here. you go into light armor, and you go into concentration. No, excuse me. It's the prodigy, and it gives you one piece of light armor, and it tells you your current bonus there is 219. That is 1%, and you can figure that out really quickly if you ever forget this. Go to the light armor here, and it will tell you the bonuses. And it will tell you how much you get per piece, and it's 1%. And then the other one is in the CP tree. If you go to the blue tree and you go right here where the guy's chin is, the precision critical strike chance here is 320. So if you take that and you divide that by 219, that equals 1.46. So it's just under 1.5% critical strike chance. So all of those together, if we go into the mail here again, so if you want to figure out what your build is, you can add up all of this stuff together. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly, and I can prove to you how this works. You've got 2628 plus 2191 plus 1982 plus 1314 for the dual-wield daggers plus one piece of light armor for 219 plus the 320 for the passive, so that gives me 8,654 critical strike chance, and all I have to do to figure out the percentage of that is divide that by 219, which is equal to 39.52 essentially. So just under 40%. And so as you can see, I have a higher critical strike chance there. I must have forgotten to add one of the numbers in. But the other, so a couple of the things here to remember. Two things that turn off and on. The minor savagery buff. Oh, I didn't have the potion pop. That's what it is. So the potion popped, and then if I critically strike from the flank, then you can see this goes all the way up to 66% critical strike chance. This is where you figure out what your critical strike is. And because I'm on a stamina build and I've got the weapon critical, it's going to be over here. If you're running a mag build and you run spell power pots, your buff is going to hit over here. So it's beneficial to make sure that where you're getting your major buff from, you want to try and get both buffs for the major prophecy and savagery. That way you get the most critical strike chance you can. Once you hit the critical buffs there, you're going to get up to 66% chance. That's a lot of critical strikes. There are some other things that are going to give you higher critical strike chance, like if you run the craftable set where you get stacks and you can get a guaranteed critical strike. That'll get you to a guaranteed, and then also if you're a necromancer, there's a passive for that gives you 20% increased critical strike chance when the enemy gets down into I believe it's under 30%. Let me just look at that real quick. So you go into Gravelords and you go into the death knell, so it is below 33%, then you gain this 20% critical strike. So that'll make your critical strike go up considerably. But anyway, that's going to be my video on how to calculate critical chance. Just to go over a couple of things gear wise. Most traditionally in golded out gear, you're going to see the 657 on these. That's 3% critical strike every time you see that. Very common to see 657 on gear pieces. That's the standard that is put in there. There is a couple of things to note. There are two mythics that will also give you critical strike chances. One of them could be very useful now because they changed beams to be direct damage, and that is the Harpooner's Wading Kilt. This will give you 1100 critical strike chance when it is stacked up all the way, and that is equal to 5% critical strike chance. The other mythic that gives you critical strike chance is the Mora's Whispers, and that is based on whether or not you have all the Shalador books. So that part of it is kind of a pain in the butt. It will give you 1,528 critical strike chance, which is equal to just about 7%. It's 6.97, I believe, so it's just about 7% there. But those are the two mythics that will give you critical strike chance if you're wanting to try to implement those in your build. If you are going to run the Mora's Whispers, I would recommend downloading the add-on for lore books. Now that we have add-ons here, you can go into an area and down. I don't have it on mine right now because I think it was giving me a problem. But you can go on any of your characters and it will just put the lore books on your map for you. It does take a long time to farm them all, so I will say that it's kind of a pain, but it might speed it up considerably now that they have an add-on that just puts it on the map. I don't know. Um, haven't tried it since the add-ons have come on, but the Wading Kilt is very strong, but I don't know if it's as good as the Velothi Mythic. I would say probably keep the Velothi Mythic because this adds so much more damage with the critical damage and the 15% increase, and as well as the penetration. I would say that this is probably better than those two mythics, but if you're messing around with the build and you want to try to get a high critical strike chance, then that's the way to go. I believe the set for craftables, critical strike, there's a couple of them in here. Um, Another one that's really not looked at a whole lot is the Claw of the Forest Wraith. It's got a lot of critical strike chance. When you gold this out, it has an absolute ton of critical chance. Also, the Mechanical Acuity set is very popular for PvP. This will give you uh, basically a guaranteed crit. Every time you have a stack of Acuity, you get a 20% critical strike chance with each stack. So you can get up to 5 of these, which is a guaranteed critical strike of 21,912. Those are the two big ones. Very, very common sets to run for critical chance uh, bonuses. They did do a change to the Hellra set Berserking Warrior. They now have critical strike and weapon damage here. And then they are also in update 47 changing this to only stack up to 5 times with a larger amount of critical chance per stack. So that might become more optimal in the future. Probably not on a beam build because the stacks only last for 5 seconds. So there's that. Rock Grove, there is the Sulksons set here. This gives you a ton of critical chance if you are able to touch the tormented soul that it leaves behind, or excuse me, the vengeful soul. When you kill something, you get critical chance and critical damage. So that is a good set to run. Also from Overland, there is from Deshawn. There's the Mother's Sorrow set. This is light, so if you don't want to run that one, there's a better set out of the Dungeon. Crypt of Hearts Leviathan is a medium set. This is a set it and forget it. Don't one bar this. You don't want that to shut off. That's another critical chance set. Another critical chance set comes from Frost Vault. This is called Zogvin's Warband. This when you do critical damage, you get more critical chance as well as minor force. Uh, so that's another good one there. Uh, that's about the strong ones there. And of course, the mother lode of all uh, craftable critical chance ones. I know people are probably screaming at me. Highland Sentinel. They are nerfing this. They won't. This one will not give as much critical chance going forward, but they are doing that stack change on this one as well, to where it only takes 5 stacks to get to the maximum. So um, it is lowering overall, but it's going to be easier to get to max stacks on this one. So that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Check out my channel. If you go on my channel and go down to my playlists, I have a lot of different videos separated by content. Check them out, see if there's something else that you be interested in. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.